My name is Jacqui Bryan. I'm a registered nurse, a whole health educator, functional nutritionist, and a certified health coach. What does all that mean? It means I take a whole person approach towards working with my clients. I work with people one-on-one. I work with them virtually over the computer, but I'm also hired by different organizations to teach some of my really popular programs all over the country, which is such a privilege. One of the things I'm most excited about is that when I work with people, I view the client through 3 different lenses. I've had the experience of being a traditionally trained Western medicine nurse, having worked at Johns Hopkins and Leahy Clinic in critical care. But I've also had the experience of being diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer in 2003, which forced me to take off my traditionally trained Western medicine hat and become the patient, which truly is a very humbling experience. And in a desperate attempt to save myself, I educated myself in holistic medicine because I knew there had to be more out there other than just Western medicine. Albeit I am here because of Western medicine, but it's not the only type of treatment that we can do for ourselves. So as a holistic practitioner, I work with my clients to look at all aspects of their care, from Western medicine to what it feels like to be a patient, all the way to the holistic approaches that they can take to improve their quality of life. Let's face it, none of us like change. We don't embrace change. Change is scary. There are so many unknowns when it comes to change. Now let's just throw a life-threatening illness into the mix and we're all thrown for a loop. It is really messing with our life and what we perceive as normal. So this diagnosis of breast cancer is actually redefining your normal. And this is one of the most important strategies that I talk to people about in my resilience workshops, is redefining your normal. While everyone in your family and your life may want you to go back to normal, to what they know you as, you're different. You're a different person now, and things have changed. So when did it start? Well, you were hanging out with all your friends, relaxing and enjoying your day, and then bam, you get this diagnosis that you weren't expecting. Now mine was breast cancer. Somebody else, it could be heart disease, it could be another life-threatening disease, but it changes who you think you are and how you feel about who you are. So the diagnosis actually makes you feel somewhat different, really isolated. And if you're like me, I was really pissed. My husband started calling me bilingual because I kept dropping the F-bomb and the S-bomb. I was so angry because I never thought cancer would happen to me. But through the process, I started to define what my new normal was. I knew that I wasn't going to go back to who I was because who I wasn't there anymore. I was really different. I saw myself differently. I felt differently. And so in this process, as we define the normal, we need to remember that we see the world differently. We feel things in the world differently. We feel less secure in our place with our family and our friends. And we know that we are being tested beyond what we ever dreamed we would be tested in. Many of us are familiar with the kind of things that stress us out. Sometimes it's that tyrant of a boss that you work for. Maybe it's a really difficult work deadline that you're not sure that you're going to make. It could be financial issues. We're really familiar with these types of stressors that are in our lives. But I'd like to share with you a different type of stressor that maybe you haven't considered. It's called iceberg stress. Iceberg stress is secondhand stress. It's the stress that you don't think about. It's the stress that maybe is getting on your nerves and causing you some difficulty in your life, but you don't realize it. What we do know is that consuming sugar, refined sugar, increases the normal rates of mineral loss by up to 300% for at least 12 hours after you eat refined sugar. What does that mean? Well, if you're an athlete, that means that no amount of supplementation is going to replace those nutrients that are lost. So let's look at some of the nutrients, the minerals and the vitamins that are lost during consumption of refined sugar. You have chromium. zinc, magnesium, sodium, thiamine, potassium, and calcium. These are all lost during the process of trying to metabolize that sugar. Think about the patient that has osteoporosis. What do they need most in their bones? They need calcium. But if you're eating a high sugar diet, we know that calcium is being robbed. Think about what happens to you at Christmas time when you're consuming a high fat diet or even a high sugar diet, foods that you're not used to consuming. We need zinc, right? Zinc is the thing that keeps us from getting sick. Zinc is another nutrient that is robbed during the process of trying to metabolize sugar. So why do people choose to work with me? One of the things that makes my practice so different is that I engage my clients using strategies with motivational interviewing, cognitive behavioral therapy, and pure presence. These are all forms of talk therapy that help channel the inner strength that you all have and that you all need in order to make positive health changes. Let's take a minute and talk about your internal ecosystem. This is the ecosystem that these microbiome live. How did you get your microbiome? How did it all happen? What we know is it starts the day that you were born. You were up inside your mom's womb, and then when it was time for you to be born, you traveled down the vaginal canal. And as you went down that vaginal canal, you were picking up bacteria along the journey. That might sound kind of gross to some of you, but actually that bacteria you picked up helped form your microbiome. And that microbiome was largely formed by the age of 3. You were kissed, you were cuddled, maybe you had to have an antibiotic for an infection. All of those things had an impact on your microbiome. We know microbiome, there are good and bad guys. They exist, right? And so what we do know is that the good ratio is about 85% of the good guys, the good bacteria, to 15% of the bad guys. That's the ratio that we want. It doesn't always happen. Like after I had chemotherapy, I'm sure I wiped out a lot of those good guys. But there are ways that you can build up your microbiome to help keep you healthy, happy, and safe. So the programs that I teach now all over the country are things that hopefully are cutting-edge holistic topics that people can use and apply to their everyday life. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me be here. I am a 15-year breast cancer survivor, cancer-free. Woo! This is Jacqui Bryan, registered nurse, functional nutritionist, whole health educator, certified health coach, and professional speaker. I use a unique combination of medical background and behavioral approaches to help you harness the inner strength you need to lead healthier, more energetic lives.